I have given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
You don't really think you'll win, do you?
I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode 15. Hey now in there. Mario, you know why we do the hey now, right? You know the whole Okay.
Hey now.
Hey now, it's a tribute to Howard Stern show as well as Gary Sanders.
Shandling.
Yeah, Gary Shandling. They're on the Larry Sanders show, yes.
Yeah, Larry Sanders, that's right.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yes,
hey now.
Hey now. Howard ripped it off or he plays tribute to that show, has been for years. That's where the hey now came. Anyway, whatever. Hey now. Episode 15 of the Batman on Film vlog. I am your host here, and I'm also the founder and editor-in-chief of Batman on Film, which is celebrating its 20th year in 2018, which is unbelievable to me. Wait, 20 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
20th year of BOF. 10-year anniversary of The Dark Knight. It's a good year.
Yeah, it is.
First month of RevengeOfTheFans.com.
Yes,
I mean, you know.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
Hey.
Shameless early plug. I love it.
There was a 1 month of Batman on Film way back in the day, too, and that's how it all starts. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in it 20 years. Joining me today is the co-host, Batman on Film contributor, podcaster, our resident Star Wars aficionado from Dallas, Texas, West Plano, Rick Shew. How you doing, sir?
I don't think anybody cares about where I live.
Yes,
Bill.
there's a lot of people. I did market research. They like geography.
They like geography.
They like to be able
very
to envision,
specifically that I'm on the west side of Plano. That's all relevant, I guess.
In their mind exactly where this person is, and they also
It makes it easier. It makes it easier to find you to want to wring your neck one day too. Right?
I'm a 3-hour flight to New York, sir.
Yes,
that I know.
Yeah.
All right.
And speaking of New York, from Revenge of the Fans. It's still the El Fanboy podcast, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, the host of the El Fanboy podcast, MFR himself, Mario Francisco-Robles.
Howdy.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's Sunday morning, and I'm kind of tired. I feel like a little bit like a zombie, but I'm ready to talk some DC with you.
Boy,
so
let's
do this.
Since I annoyed Rick with geography, I'm going to annoy him even more. How's the weather? And yes.
By the way, you recognize
Kingdom Come Superman logo. Yes. How's the weather in the Big Apple, sir?
Oh, it snowed up a storm yesterday.
Really?
So it's like a winter wonderland outside of my house. So I'm gonna go make a snowman with my kids when we're done here.
Okay.
That's so cool. That's one thing my kids have not really experienced is making snowmen.
Mm.
Well,
maybe you should leave West Plano and come to New York.
It snows once in a blue moon in Dallas, and down here it's been a weird winter.
It snows here once every 300 years, and it landed on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was
2011.
Yeah.
12, 13.
All right. If you like what we do here at Batman on Film, and feel obliged to support us further, check us out at patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm. It helps out everything that we do, especially with all the new stuff we're doing. Mario, he's got his own Patreon as well.
Yes, I do. Patreon.com/RevengeOfTheFans. I'm ready to plug at all times.
Yes, sir. Okay. We're going to talk about here today. It's a little DC on film, and I was talking to Rick on the phone Friday morning or Thursday morning, and he had he mentioned, he said, you know, man, it's almost like, would we be better off with DC on Film if Wonder Woman hadn't been a huge success? And I went, you have a point there. There's a discussion to be had in that. It's hypothetical because we know Wonder Woman was a huge success. I love Wonder Woman. I know Rick loves it. Mario, you love it too.
I love it.
Okay, and it's the best of the DC films so far. I guess in the in the post Man of Steel world,
Yeah.
the shared universe that they.
Well, to me, it trumps Man of Steel, but
yes,
yeah.
yes, but yes. Man is still on all those films: Suicide Squad, BBS, Justice League, Wonder Woman. It's the best. So, Rick, I'll let you explain further since it was you came up with this. It was your blurb, your hypothesis, your take, and I thought it was interesting. And we thought about. I said you should write something maybe, and then I thought it'd be a hell of a vlog and get Mario on here and discuss. So go ahead, man.
Well, again, it's merely a hypothetical, and it was just a conversation. It was a fleeting conversation, but we started to dig into it, and it turned into, how these things work. They kind of take on a life of their own, and there's a snowball effect to everything. I'm going to make a snow reference there. But anyway, so basically my point was this. I love that movie, and I can't imagine us not having it. I watched it the other day. The No Man's Land sequence is in my top favorite comic book moments on film ever. Gal is a stunning star, and I can't wait for Patty Jenkins' sequel. So I don't want to undermine any of that. All the point I was making, we can remove ourselves from our emotions and our personal opinions of that film, because that film is not in a vacuum. That film is a part of a connective tissue. It's a part of a larger universe. And because of that film being successful, well, actually, let me pause. There's two things. When Justice League, when it became pretty apparent after the movie came out, and it had its dismal opening weekend, and things weren't going very well for the film, so to speak, in terms of box office and everything, I had said multiple times, I kind of have my doubts that they would have greenlit Aquaman if this was what Justice League was going to do performance-wise. So, because they knew that things weren't going to go that well, I don't think they thought this was going to be under 700 million worldwide. I don't think they thought it was going to be that bad. I mean, what did it end up at anyway? 685?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there? Right. Right. So I thought, would they have? It was a fair question. And because at that point, it just kind of feels like you would just kind of start over, right? Let's just have a clean slate. Let's reboot all this stuff, and let's just go in a different direction. And I say that not from like just my personal opinion of what I think they should do. I'm talking about, I'm looking over cinema and how Hollywood has always worked. When things don't go well, they'll start over. They do it all the time. I mean, I've said this a million times. There are certain films the actors got one shot. Ryan Reynolds was the Green Lantern one time. They never made a sequel. The Fantastic Four reboot, we'll never see a sequel to that, nor should we, but we won't. We'll never see Brandon Routh the Superman again.
I knew you were going to mention that.
Right. Well, but it's true. So so that's what I'm saying. I'm just basing this off it all has historical context to it. So when I look at the DCEU and some of the things that Mario has reported, whether it be Superman and Shazam or what have you, or what the hell is going to happen with Matt Reeves' Batman film, and I'm just like, man, are they going to be doubling down on a lot of these things and trying to make this work? Because they're kind of stuck with Aquaman because it was in pre-production prior to all the Justice League news, but most importantly, they're stuck with Gal Gadot and her Wonder Woman. And that's okay because I can't wait to see her Wonder Woman again. But let's just say that film didn't work. Okay? And let's just say that it was received in the same way that BVS was received, or Suicide Squad, Justice League, etc. Would they have been better off looking at it from 30,000 feet? Okay? Would they have been better off as an overall game plan to move forward because they would have had more of an opportunity and justification just to start over? Now, and I say this again in context, they're stuck with her and her universe. So now are they going to be like forcing other films around it because they're stuck with that? Does that make sense, Mario?
No, I hear you. I hear it's a provocative question, and it's an interesting hypothetical.
And it wasn't one that was intended to go on YouTube either, by the way. So I'm already prepared to get my ass kicked on this one. I'm just talking, and it was a fleeting thing, and now we're here talking about it.
Yeah, and it's not like you were wishing that Wonder Woman had been a bomb. It's just stepping back and looking. Are they doubling down on some of this stuff that didn't work because they don't want to give up that hope of the shared universe finally kicking in and working and becoming a success? And is it is it a carrot that it keeps being dangled out in front of them that they can't give up?
Let me say this. I'm gonna turn it over to Mario. Yeah. And to be clear, what I've always said, and because it'll be a great segue for him anyway. What I've always said is you can still keep her, put her in period pieces, and then just kind of move on from everything else. But based on his great reporting and everything, it doesn't sound like that's exactly what they're going to do. So now that's where I'm coming with this. So I've always been okay with them keeping her. She's wonderful. The film's amazing. I can't wait for a sequel, all that stuff. But I was like, you could keep her put her in a vacuum, put her in period pieces, and then move on with these other components. And it doesn't sound like that's what they're doing. So, Mario, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First, I wanted to kind of take a step back and look at the DCU as an overall thing for a second. I feel like the biggest issue has been characterization, right? Because everyone likes the characters that they've chosen. Everyone likes the casts. There are certain elements of each film that have all been, very well received. But the characterizations are really what have turned people off. In Batman v Superman, there was stuff that happened in there that people felt was like sacrilegious for these characters. And same thing for certain people with Man of Steel and Suicide Squad, with the Joker. A lot of people don't like the way that the characters have been portrayed, but the films themselves are brimming with potential. And for me, what Wonder Woman did was show what could happen, how well things can go if you finally characterize these, if you finally portray these characters the way they were meant to be shown. Audiences will embrace them no matter what's going on around them. Even if they hated BVS, even if they hated Suicide Squad, they will come out and see it if they love how the character is portrayed and then the buzz around it is good. So when it comes to this, I don't think Warner Brothers ever really had a desired or even considered rebooting, even if Wonder Woman hadn't gone well. Because I think there are enough positives here that they knew we just need to change the guard. We need to change who's running the ship here. I think that's just my stance. That it would be like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. But at this point, there's too much. There's too much at stake. There's too many eyeballs on this for them to just tuck their tail between their legs and go and do a hard reboot. Even if it had failed, I think they would have tried to find a way to retool. That's Let
me ask you this specifically. Then I hear what you're saying, but she was in Justice League, and she was used pretty heavily in the marketing.
Yes.
And it was coming after her film had goodwill and great reviews and already had ran its course. And Justice League still bombed. So to me, that's where that sort of starts to fall apart. Is that and Justice League didn't bomb because of Justice League. No one saw it. No one went to see it opening weekend. It wasn't like it sucked, no one saw it. It's just that no one cared. And there's a big difference in those two things. And that's why I'm like, does it more go to my narrative that she's better off by herself in a vacuum? Because that's sort of what's been proven so far. Look, it's not going to happen, so I understand that. So this is merely just a discussion.
I think that would be hard. She was introduced in Batman v Superman. She's part of that tapestry. Had she been introduced separate and then they were going to incorporate her in, using Justice League to be the team up, then I could see how they could pull that off. But she's already part of that. That shot of the Trinity with her and Cavill and Affleck, that's already emblazoned in pop culture history. That's part of what's going on here in the cinematic landscape. So I don't know that they could have just gone, all right, now she's just on an island, forget everything else around her. She was introduced as part of the launchpad film for the DCU.
Right, so but you put her in period pieces. You don't have to acknowledge and that's specifically what you would have to do.
That's what Wonder Woman 2 is going to be, another period piece. There's going to be no Cavill as Superman showing up. There better not be, or whoever's.
I wouldn't even say that, Bill. At this point, we don't know.
You know what? And I'll go back to it, and I've said it before. The doubling down stuff to me, I find ridiculous. I think you can. We've talked about it before on this show with Mario.
But see,
you can soft reboot this thing and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I mean, I have to agree with Rick. Rick has a good point. She was in Justice League, and her being in there, even with the success of her film, didn't make a difference with Justice League.
Well, I think that I think the main thing there was the marketing, because it looked like a BVS sequel, and people were put off by BVS. And then the reviews came out, and that didn't help either. They were negative. I don't think you could. I don't think the Wonder Woman inclusion in Justice League, can be. I don't know. I don't think it's a negative. I don't think it was like, Wonder Woman was really good, and she is in Justice League. I want to go see it. She had no impact on bringing people into the theater.
Hey, maybe if she wasn't used in the marketing, it would have done worse. We don't know. I mean, seriously, I don't know. I don't. Again, this is all hypothetical. So let's get to, if we don't mind, guys. I don't mean to take this over, Bill, but
no, go ahead.
Because we can kind of embellish these hypotheticals all day long.
This is your deal, Rick. Go.
But let's start to kind of hone in on the meat and potatoes and the reality of the situation now. So, we talk about this a lot, but it's a very specific topic for this blog. So, Mario, where are we right now with all of this? Because we are unclear exactly what Matt Reeves is doing with Batman. If your reporting is accurate, and I believe you have good sources, sometimes good sources aren't always correct. Everybody experiences that. But I'm at this point kind of just accepting the fact that Cavill's and Shazam and all that. Where does this leave us? I'll give you a list of questions. Is there a Man of Steel 2 on the horizon? And I mean, is it actually going to happen? Where is Matt Reeves' Batman going to go? And what about all these films they talk about they have slated? Are they going to get made? Which ones? And how much connective tissue is going to be? And I know that's all very loaded, but that's why we're here.
Where we're at seems to be the soft reboot phase of things in terms of how they tell these stories. I consider that a soft reboot. In other words, if everything coming out for these next couple of years is very much like Wonder Woman, where it's standalone stories with just minimalistic connective tissue, in and of itself, that's sort of a soft reboot of what's been going on the last 2 years, right? Because the last 2 years have all been about the shared universe. Now we're moving into an area where these characters are going to get put onto an island, and the connective tissue is going to be minimal. It's going to be maybe just a reference, like in Wonder Woman, where there's references to Bruce Wayne, and there is some connection to Justice League, but overall it's a story that can stand on its own. That is the template moving forward. So I think these next few films are going to be just like that. So
and they won't look like Snyder either, because no one looks like Snyder.
No one looks like Snyder. And I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing, because I think Snyder's visuals are fantastic. But
I'm not saying it as an opinion either way. I'm just saying that just won't be the case, right?
Yeah. But so what they're going to do is, they're going to basically follow the Wonder Woman model. Put Aquaman on his own little island, and then maybe have one little cute thing in a post-credit sequence that makes Bill cringe. Then there's going to be...
That's ridiculous.
But it's not.
It is.
They can't. Listen, they can't give up on this franchise. They can't give up on it. They're too invested. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars. It's in the public consciousness.
No, it's not.
Is it in the public consciousness? I don't think it is, Mario. I would say it's not.
It is.
No, Rick.
You guys are such Debbie Downers. It's amazing.
I'm not being a Debbie Downer. What I'm saying is that it's in the public consciousness on Twitter, and our bubble that we all kind of live in on Twitter and Facebook and everything. But 89-90% of the people that go see these films would not miss a beat with any of this stuff. It's anecdotal. I know.
Wonder Woman was a cultural moment, and that was only like 7 months ago. And it proves that audiences will bounce back and come back and give your movie all kinds of love and support and everything it needs, as long as it looks good, as long as it's something they can believe in. So that shows DC right there, okay, we can continue with this. We just need to put the right people creatively in charge of these characters. They already know that the Snyder mold wasn't working, that what David Ayer tried to do with the Suicide Squad didn't work. So they're trying to rebrand it to be more hopeful, more optimistic, more lighthearted, that sort of thing. But think about it. we always rave about the casting. We always rave about the fact that we like a lot of elements. Like for me, Batman v Superman is frustrating because there's a lot in there that's really exciting. It just didn't have a good storyteller to put it together. I hate to say that if you're a Snyder fan and you're watching this, but you know, he dropped the ball on a lot of his high-minded ideas, and it was kind of an empty movie. A better storyteller could have made that movie amazing. It could have been another Nolan-esque type of masterpiece, but it was just the wrong guy calling the shots at the time. So I think Warner Brothers sees that because there's so much potential to throw away Henry Cavill, who I think is a fantastic Superman, to throw away, I think Ezra Miller's a great Flash. You have this amazing supporting cast with Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. You've got Kevin Costner there as part of the mythology as Jonathan Kent. You have Diane Lane. Like, to throw all of that out and act like we're back at Batman and Robin era, which I know you guys think we are, I don't think that would have made a lot of sense. I think they just needed to course correct, and I think they're doing that.
I don't think that we're at Batman and Robin era. I think Bill's referenced that. I think that's just been more in jest, but we certainly are. We certainly are there.
Let me clarify what I said. I said Batman and DC Batman on film is at its lowest point since Batman and Robin. There's a lot of similarities with Batman right now, the Batman film franchise. I think that I'm with you on the soft reboot, Mario, and I'm with you. And if their idea, and as they said in that Vulture piece, is to make these things as their own deal, each individual films, with Aquaman being the first, and then Wonder Woman 2, and so forth. I'm all for it, you know. And if people see that film and say, "Oh, here's Jason Momoa's Aquaman in this Aquaman movie," and you know, somewhere out there is Superman, and there is Batman, and there's Wonder Woman. But to me, I still say it's doubling down. You're digging your heels in, and you're kicking and screaming, we're going to make this thing work. So let's put a Legion of Doom in Justice League post-credit scene in Aquaman. I don't see any point in that, and it doesn't hurt the possibility of a shared universe team up type film in the future if it's not included, and it doesn't. I don't think it does anything either way. I think you just keep making these movies. Yeah,
I think it helps. Because here's the thing. I think at most it's either a neutral or a positive. It's not at all a negative. Because what's going to happen is if you have a little post-credit sequence there for the Legion of Doom at the end of Aquaman, a general audience member may just not care at all about it. Like, oh, what was that? Oh, whatever. A hardcore DC fan's going to see that and go, oh, we're getting Legion of Doom. I don't think anyone sees it and goes, oh, except for you guys.
I do that because the odds are there'll never be a Legion of Doom film. There's never there is, but they're setting them up to be an antagonistic force within the shared world. So in other words, they could be something that factors into a Justice League 2 years from now.
And just to be clear, I want to get something on the record. When I saw the post-credit scene, I sat there because first of all, I love Jesse's Lex. All right, I'm alone on that one.
No,
he looked badass, and that whole scene is cool. And when it was over, my thought was, man, oh, sorry guys.
It's okay.
Little technical difficulty there. We're good. This multi-million-dollar studio I'm in sometimes has bugs. But anyway, I saw that scene and thought, that's a great scene. I love it. My problem was, but what are they doing though? Are they just messing with are they messing with the audience, or like the hardcore fans, and just giving them a taste of something that they're never going to see? That's what I thought was sort of
just like you said,
kind of a dick move to be honest with you.
But you're thinking within the bubble. Within the bubble as people who analyze the strategies.
But that's who that was for. Because
that was also for hardcore DC fans. That's what I'm saying. Your wife is general audience.
But no,
so
but the hardcore DC fan is the bubble, is what I'm saying. They are the bubble.
I'm not sure I'm following you, but I think what you're saying doesn't disprove what I'm saying. You thought it was cool. I think most DC fans who know the comics and know what that means, they thought it was cool. Yeah, General audiences might have shrugged it off.
Yeah.
But in other words, nobody walked away from that thinking this is a negative. You only think it's a negative if you're someone who's analyzing the film industry and you think Warner Brothers needs to change their strategy for how they release these films and how they put these films together. To an audience member out there, if you're a DC fan, you thought it was cool. If you're a general audience member, you were at best unmoved. but I don't see how it's at all a negative to have a post-credit sequence that continues to build up the idea that there's this whole secret organization of bad guys looming in the background and building intrigue. I wonder what we're going to see them come up with. What is this building to?
You just said it. I wonder what's going to happen, but the odds are they're never going to see that. And so why put it in there? Now, if they are going to see that's well, look, then that's not a soft reboot. That's like Bill says, doubling down, and that's where I'm also trying to figure all this out. And this is going to unfold here before our eyes here pretty soon. But I want to go back to something you said a moment ago. There's been a lot of things thrown at us here, and I didn't want to not listen to what you were saying, but so I'm going to paraphrase. But you're going back to this thing about Wonder Woman. And her success, and how the right director coming in, and this is all it takes, et cetera, et cetera. And that you know what, you're right. And there's not to say that there can't be there could be a Justice League 2, and it could be very cool, and it could be good. I'm not going to go to see
a long time from now.
And I would never go see a movie, especially in DC, and just sit there with my arms crossed because it didn't unfold the way I wanted it to, and just be pissed off about it. I will watch it, and if it's great, I'll celebrate it. So I want to also be clear, I'm not being Debbie Downer. I'm saying that what's interesting is I look at it and say, what has been working and what hasn't been working? Just real simple. Working, not working. You know what's worked for them? The Dark Knight trilogy. Man of Steel, in a lot of ways, worked more so than any of the other films aside from Wonder Woman. It worked better than BVS. Maybe not made as much money, but proportionally speaking, I think it did better. And then you have Wonder Woman. And all of these films are because they were director-driven, character-driven, and they were by themselves inhabiting their world. And that is what has worked. What hasn't worked for them is an extended universe with all this connective tissue. That's all. It's just strictly a business decision that I find bizarre.
But see, they're way too far into this now to back away. That's where we disagree.
But you talked about the audience, it being, how did you phrase it? It's on the consciousness of the American public,
in
or
the
whatever.
pop culture consciousness.
See, that's where I disagree. I don't think it is. I just don't, and I say that not because I'm being bitter. I'll put it to you like this. If they just would reboot this whole thing right now, 90% of these people that want to see these movies wouldn't. No, I can't imagine going, man, I really miss Perry, Lawrence Fishburne's Perry White. Where's he at? This is, they're not going to, this is not where they're at. These films haven't resonated with them to be that way yet. Maybe they will. And that's what's weird about them continuing to double down on all this stuff. Because, again, this has never happened before. You laughed earlier. How many films did Brandon Routh and Kevin Spacey get? One. They got one.
Yeah.
They got one. My thing is, it's not a bad movie, but they never got a sequel because it just didn't resonate. And that's where we're at with this, and they just keep going, and it's really a bizarre tactic. Now, look, it may pay off for them. I don't know.
It already kind of has, though, because something that's kind of hard to grasp.
Well, you put Justice League's numbers on the screen right now.
But that's the thing. Okay, that's the first one that underperformed. Overall, they've made a ton of money on these movies. All right? Even BVS, which underperformed, still managed almost $900 million. It should have done...
You're the same guy that says Star Wars Last Jedi $1.3 billion is a failure. I can't keep up with you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But the point is, they've actually made a nice chunk of change on these movies. Had they all flopped, then sure, then it's time to pull the plug. No one gives a damn. But these movies have all made at least some profit. And Justice League, once home video sales come in, it's probably going to also turn a profit. So none of these have technically bombed. None of these movies have flopped. All they need is an injection of something to get them off life support and fully healthy again.
I think they made money on Superman Returns, by the way. Just FYI.
A little bit, yeah. It was like 390 million worldwide. So it was probably the lowest profit margin of all of these. But yes,
but it did well on DVD and Blu-ray.
But they're not. Yeah, they. Okay,
remember, but it was
the only film that did more than they expected the box. I say films. Wonder Woman made more than they thought it would make, and Suicide Squad, but. Of all of those, only Wonder Woman is considered a beloved film that did well everywhere. Excuse me, and
by the way, Man of Steel deserved to have that same stature, in my personal view. I think Man of Steel got its ass kicked unfairly by critics.
I'm
a big defender of it as well.
I'm not going down the whole road a bit. You know what happened when it disappointed.
But I want there to be a distinction here between our opinion of the films versus our analysis of the business model.
Well, but that's the thing. I think your distinction there is a little blurry, because these movies actually have done fairly well. Even the ones we didn't like have actually at least either broken even or turned some profit. None of them have actually bombed. None of them are actually
why did they make such drastic changes after B versus S then?
Because they could see how much better it can go. They realized,
and it got worse. Justice League.
Well, Wonder Woman came after that.
Yeah, but that was already happening, and Snyder had a lot to do with that, to give him credit too. Like that. See what I'm saying? Like, it's not just me. I'm looking at this even in the bubble here. B versus S didn't do exactly. Yeah, it made money. It was $800 million. It did all this stuff on Blu-ray and everything. All that. They still said, nope. We're course correcting here
because they saw it could be better. Listen,
but it wasn't better. They didn't make it better.
Wonder Woman is the template moving.
I don't look at Wonder Woman being a result of course correction from B versus S. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong on that, Bill. I don't think that timeline is even accurate.
No, it's not. I'm not saying they course corrected between, but Wonder Woman gave them the guide map, the map. Once that came out last June,
they course corrected for Justice League, and quite frankly, all that work and all that bad PR, and they probably just would have been better off with Snyder finishing his movie, to be honest with you. Because it's a freaking it's a chocolate
difference at the box office.
It's a chocolate. The movie's a mess. It's a hybrid of two directors that you can just. It's weird. It's a weird movie.
That's another area where we disagree. Because I have found, maybe this is just my own circumstantial evidence, but I have found that general audiences actually kind of dug the movie. I know almost everyone I've spoken to who's not people like us, like online blogger people, they've all said, "Oh, that was good." And even like the cinema score was a B+. If you look at reports on Forbes that I have linked to in my reports, it actually had decent legs. It actually stuck around for longer than it probably should have had it actually been a film that everyone hated. Remember, that's the big difference. BVS opened big and then tanked after the first weekend because everyone saw it, hated it, and stopped coming. Justice League opened soft but kind of stayed there for a long time because the people who did see it were telling their friends, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool. You should go check it out."
Well, it couldn't have got much worse.
No, but that's the thing though. Like it actually, in my experience, most general audiences actually enjoyed it. The problem is a lot of them didn't give it a chance on opening weekend because of how turned off they.
I'll say this, and then it's opening a can of worms. So if you guys can just let me say it, and then we'll run from it. But I have a guy that's now I consider him a friend, and I can't say who he is. In fact, it's the first time I think I've even inadvertently said his gender. But anyway, he's a bigwig for a theater chain. Okay. Anyway, he saw what everyone's talking about as the Snyder cut for B versus S, and I tweeted about this back in March, I believe it was, because that's when Wonder Woman came out in March, right?
No.
Is that right?
June.
No, June.
June. Okay, so it was around then, May, June, because we were setting. Yeah. Anyway, so long story short, he saw and liked what he saw a lot. I tweeted about it. As it turns out, it was a lot of the film had not been finished yet with special effects and CGI, and about 25-30% of it was actually storyboarded. So it was more like a narration and what the scene would be like and all that. Anyway, I had an opportunity to speak to that gentleman since Justice League came out, and he saw the Whedon hybrid official cinematic release, and I said, how do you compare? He's like, man, I just would have preferred them to just complete what I saw. And so that was interesting to hear that from him, by the way, just as, someone
that is interesting. But that
is the Snyder cut, by the way, a bunch of scenes that have no CGI and a bunch of storyboards. So just there you have it. Anyway, moving on from that.
I really, truly, firmly, and if you're watching this, comment and let us know. I have found practically everywhere that most casual audiences, general audiences who saw the film actually liked Justice League. And I'm not sure that would have been the case had they released the Snyder cut. So that's why I think at the end of the day, the tinkering worked. Even though it's given us a ton to bicker over and it didn't turn out to be a very satisfying film for us, I think it worked in easing up how people think about these characters in the general audience.
Maybe not. I don't know about that.
I think the changes got it to it's okay, and that's what I said. It was okay. Just okay is not good enough for DC characters and for Batman. From in particular, I mean, Batman being in a just okay film is just not going to. It doesn't work for me.
And one thing we know, regardless of the soft reboot semantic versus reboot or whatever, we know that they will. We're not going to see what we saw in Justice League. They're changing that. We know. To what extent is the question. So let's get to Batman specifically.
Okay.
What the hell is going to happen with Matt Reeves' Batman? I want an honest, genuine prediction from you guys, please, because I don't know. Right now I'm this big advocate online for this 1939 Hitchcockian type of Batman film that the gentleman John Reagan, really cool guy, the artist that Umberto introduced us all to via Twitter, is doing all these cool renditions of Jake Gyllenhaal's Batman from 1939, and I'm like, wow, man, I want us to go that route, But that's all just me as a fan, just what I would like to see, and I have my reasons for it. Something new, something incredibly different and fresh, and then it also takes us away from all this connective tissue. But that's not even really the reason why. I just think, we've had so many Batmen on film. It's a cool idea. It's a cool idea. Let's change this up. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. Probably not. So I honestly don't know. If I had to put money on it, my guess is the film's probably going to be a contemporary Batman film, and it's probably going to be, at this juncture, a soft reboot of Batman, a new Batman, whether it's Jake or whoever, but probably maybe some of the same cast, and just sort of a kind of a Joel Schumacher from Tim Burton kind of thing.
You were saying they're going to Batman Forever it.
Yeah, for the most, but I don't think it's going to be that extreme aesthetically. I mean, we're not going to go from what's that?
Why wouldn't it be?
Can you get any more extreme from the goo spewing, baby murdering Batman to the nipples and porn style cod pieces? I don't know.
Well, in that context,
that was a drastic.
Well, I get what you're coming from, but why? Who knows? Who knows? Look, I'll say this, and I'll let Mario finish. I think it's going to be its own damn thing. I think it's going to be its own thing, and I think that's the only reason Matt Reeves took that job is because he has been given creative freedom, and I think that, and I'm not saying I've heard this, but I would say that if we see at some point that Matt Reeves walks from this project, it's because he is being told to put it within the universe of the DC on film universe, and I think. If it happens under Matt Reeves, it's its own thing with his own Batman, with his own costume, his own aesthetic, his own Gotham City, his own villains, whatever. That's what I think is going to happen if it's made and Matt Reeves is the director of that film.
See, what I think...
Let me, if you don't mind, just real quick, Bill, is there a script? Is there a script yet? What's your guess?
No.
Well,
okay. Mario, sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
No, so here's where things get interesting, because I do think Plan A is to sort of Batman Forever, to do a thing where it's technically connected, we're just changing the actor, and he's going to get to tell his story his way, but technically it is sort of a continuation of what we've seen. But where things get interesting is with this Joker film, with the Todd Phillips Joker film. I'm not saying they're going to be connected, but if that does really well, or if the studio starts coming around that and it starts becoming a real thing, and Matt Reeves sees, like, you know what? If they're going to start doing these Elseworld tales, and this is actually something people are excited about, and the studio is going to put all their weight behind, maybe I will just take my Batman and do my own thing with it.
That's what I agree with that. I think that's what it's going to be. I think
so oddly enough, I think it hinges
that's a great
on how
response.
I think how this Joker movie comes together is going to dictate, because we can tell Reeves is not really in any sort of rush. He signed a new deal with Netflix. He has enough time, and there's no release date for his movie, so he's got plenty of time to figure out how he wants to do this movie. Meanwhile, this Joker thing seems to be coming together right now with the Joaquin Phoenix stuff. So I have a feeling he's paying attention to this, and if he sees the studio's getting behind this, there's an appetite for this. then maybe he's going to go. Then forget everything.
I think he's always planned that, and I think that him, Variety, or I think it was Variety, had reported it one time. Then they had to retract it, that it was its own thing in its own time, and then they took that out of the report. And then he says just very casually, they told me when I accepted it, it was not part of the extended universe. It's essentially its own Batman world. And then once there was a hoopla over what he said, he came back and never said directly, yes, it's part of the extended universe. He said basically by default, Batman is part of the DC universe. Well, yes, that's true. He is. He's part of the DC universe.
Yeah, that whole that makes my head spin.
I think it's the only reason he took that job, and I think that was been the plan from the beginning. And so, not like I said, if it's made, and he's the director and the credits, that thing's gonna be its own deal.
Let me just say this too: if this is what they're going to do, I hope it works. I want it to work, and I'll celebrate it if it does work. This is not cynicism. This is strictly like, man, it just doesn't seem like the smart path, just from a business perspective. But if we get a Man of Steel 2, a real sequel with Henry Cavill, and a good director at the helm, and it's a film that does not just Superman justice, but his Superman justice, so much of this will be worth it to me. So that better effing happen if we're going through all this shit. That better happen.
My update on that, based on conversations I've had with someone close to it,
and it better have Zimmer's score in it. Sorry, go ahead.
It better. No, it really better.
Right.
Is that it's happening. At this point, it's about logistics. At this point, it's about agreeing to contract, because Cavill's contract is almost up. And if he's going to do this, they're still basically hammering out and renegotiating what it's going to take for him to do this and then stay on. Because it looks like, if right now, they don't want to do it where he'll just do this and then it's over. They want to do it like, now we're going to do Man of Steel 2 and you're still our Superman for the foreseeable future. And that seems to be something that they're discussing right now. It's like, trying to figure out how much longer of a deal it should be, what should the money be, all that sort of stuff. At this point, in other words, it's all logistics. It's coming, but they have to get both sides to agree. Cavill has to be happy with what they're offering. They have to be happy with what he wants. But at this point, the plan is for a Man of Steel 2, and they're going to be announcing it at some point, maybe between now and the summer. And at San Diego Comic-Con.
And I just hope he gets rave reviews in Mission Impossible. I really do.
Yeah, he deserves it. He needs it. I hope
all that is more of a catalyst for this to happen. So that'll be a good thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say by then it would actually probably already be a done deal. But I would say if it does well, that's going to give Warner Brothers more of an incentive to just give him whatever he wants to make Man of Steel 2, because now he's this big, star because of Mission Impossible. But Mission Impossible comes out in late July, so I think they'll know by then. But regardless, if you want a Man of Steel 2, the good news is that it is what they want to do. Everyone is interested in doing it. They just have to agree to the terms and the actual logistics of the contracts and all that sort of stuff. But it is
and the movie title will have Superman in it, I bet, not Man of Steel.
Yeah, it's not going to be Man of Steel 2. I've already been told that's just like a code name. It's like the short talk, whatever you want.
Superman Lives or Superman Returns Again. I don't know.
They could just call it Superman, just to kind of get
just call it Superman. Hey, you know what's funny? Look, if they're going to soft reboot it, can we take out that Jimmy Olsen was assassinated by the Taliban?
And that's where it comes in handy that only happened in the Ultimate Edition. So technically, that's not, they can ignore that, because in the theatrical cut, they never said that that's Jimmy Olsen. That was something that's only in the Ultimate Edition.
Well, Snyder saying that he did it because it was fun to kill off. It was fun. And he said it, but technically in the theatrical cuts, he doesn't introduce himself.
But once you released that,
when you saw that, you knew that was Jimmy Olsen because he had said that, and it was like, I was like, Rick. I mean, no, come on, man. It's all Jimmy Olsen.
I mean, I love Zach, but come on, man, that was raunchy.
Yeah,
that was raunchy. Did it really make your nipples hard? It was raunchy.
Just bad.
Okay, there we go.
Raunchy bad kind of way.
Raunchy, raunchy bad. Kind of like now we say sick and it means good. I'm saying raunchy can mean bad.
So I have a feeling we're going to be wrapping up in a second. I just want to once again go back to one thing.
Okay, let's do that.
This concept of like they should reboot it, or they should sort of, this is not Batman and Robin, like we said earlier. When Batman and Robin came out, that facilitated a really, really hard reboot because it was a huge black eye across the board. There was nothing about Batman and Robin that worked. There was nothing that was like, oh, with a different director, it could have been good. It was just a disaster. So it made sense to just throw the whole thing out and start from scratch. With this current DCU, there is still so much good. There's still so much potential in there that it wouldn't make sense to just throw it all away. So that's my thing. I think it's how they view it, and that's what I'm doing.
I've never been a proponent of a complete reboot. And I've gotten flack for that. I've gotten flack from people saying, why aren't you promoting a total reboot? Because I am
Mauricio Fagundes probably thinks.
I am a very strong supporter of Cavill getting a proper Superman film. I want more of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I like Momoa as Aquaman.
More Gal is always good.
My thing is, soft reboot this and stop forcing these cameos, these winks and nods. Let them be their own thing. The shared universe folks can say, yeah, they're in the shared universe. Other people can say, this is a Superman film. This is a Wonder Woman film. And there's none of all of this stuff.
I'm sorry.
And the only and Mario, to be honest, the only thing that the Legion of Doom stuff appeals to are the fans, and you've said as much, and they are going to see these films in the future no matter what.
But you want to throw them a bone. You want to give them something to be talking about.
Let them talk about the movie itself being great.
Listen, the Legion of Doom thing was nothing but a positive. It was either a shrug or a positive, and I think it's going to continue to still be that way. And you need to get off this thing about the cameos being bad, because we don't even know how Superman's going to be used in Shazam. It could just be a flyby. It could just be that scene that we saw in Justice League, and he meets them, and that's it.
But that's a problem. But see, I have issue with that. Yes, I do, and I'll tell you why.
It's beautiful and exciting.
I want to make
Superman fan.
I want to make sure I'm clear on why I have a problem with that. Maybe
because
people
you're
will
wrong.
understand.
That's why.
Because I think that Henry Cavill's Superman is
deserves
perfect,
better,
and he deserves better. He has been reduced. His sequel to Man of Steel never happened. He was reduced to second fiddle, was given 43 lines, and then they killed him off. His resurrection film had this really goofy resurrection, and then they just put him in a bunch of weird scenes with Joss Whedon, bad one-liners. The post-credit scene with him and Flash was amazing. I love that scene. But I'm like, okay, so now what we're going to do with this Superman? Well, that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to throw him in Shazam and have a cameo. I'm like, bullshit. He deserves better. Superman deserves better. Henry Cavill Superman specifically deserves better.
Listen,
but
like
I said, if Man of Steel 2 is actually going to happen, then none of this will be in vain for that character and him.
Look, Man of Steel 2 Man of Steel broke my heart. Batman v Superman, I couldn't stand it, even though I've come around on the Ultimate Edition. Justice League, I have my mixed feelings about it. But hang on, my point is I've been predominantly negative on this Superman, this current version of Superman. But even I will geek out to see him in Shazam. So I think that says something.
But maybe that's just it. Maybe I'm more emotionally invested in him and think he deserves better than you do.
But that's the thing. But see, I think it.
You say cute, I say bullshit, but I still love it.
Man of Steel 2 is coming. So to me, I don't even worry about that part. I don't even worry about that.
I'll believe it when I see it. I hope you're right. I told you you're right. I'll throw a party, man. I'll do it in Dallas.
So, Bill, are you the same way? Is your only hang-up that that he doesn't have a sequel announced yet? So
hold on. Before Bill answers, to be clear, that's not my only hang-up. And by the way, my Shazam position really had nothing to do with F all the connective tissue, because I'm not quite – Bill and I are not quite 100% on the same page where that's concerned anyway, but close enough. But anyway, my thing was more I want Shazam itself. I don't care if B versus S did $3 billion and the DCU was just rocking. I still would want Shazam to be its own thing, because what I envision that film to be, it wouldn't be applicable to this universe at all, period. And that's obviously not the route they're going. Does it mean they still can't make it great? There's a reason that Hollywood chewed me up and spit me out, man. Right? That's why I sit here and just blow hard my opinions on YouTube, and I'm not a professional industry person anymore. Or really never. But my point is that it is a. I just want that to be clear that that's where I'm coming from on this.
Okay. Well, I think Shazam needs a little hidden X factors, because Shazam is a character that doesn't have a huge installed fan base in the general audience. To a lot of people, he's just like, I don't know him. Adding little things in there that get people buzzing and talking about it and telling their friends, oh, these cool things happen. I think all that can do is help.
You don't need it.
I don't know that a Shazam movie. I don't know.
The right director doesn't need it.
Don't make the film if you need that kind of stuff to get
right. You don't need it.
You don't need. If you need that for publicity, then you don't need to make the film. I mean, that's my stance. I've always had.
Yeah,
I'm a Shazam guy.
Look what Deadpool did. They took a rated R, freaking ambiguous character, and it's one of the most highly anticipated sequels of the year. It might actually do better than Solo. Another conversation for another day. But it's right. And don't say there were like X-Men factors in that or whatever. Come on, that Deadpool was on his own because of the writing, Ryan Reynolds, the actor, the directing.
Judging things without knowing all the details. For all we know, David Sandberg was like, I want Superman in this because I want Billy Batson to be a Superman fanboy. Like, we don't know how this thing is going to play out, so let's just preserve judgment.
And I said just now, it doesn't mean it still can't be great. And
I think it will be, and
it may very well be, and I hope it is. I'm just saying that was that was the source of my frustration by it. Is that, damn it, they're obviously not going to do how I envision it. That's cool. Hopefully it'll still be good. But more importantly, I just don't want to see Henry Cavill's Superman, my second favorite comic book character ever, the most all-American, worldwide known, recognizable symbol in comic book history, and he's now going to just be reduced to like bad one-liners and post-credit scenes and cameos.
So you didn't like him in Justice League? You keep referring to the bad one-liners. You didn't like how he was portrayed in Justice League?
I like him in it, despite how bad a lot of the scenes were with him. His resurrection scene was gross.
Oh yeah, I didn't care for that, but in terms of the way he conducted himself, he didn't feel like Superman to you.
No, of course he did, but it's not. But that my point is, I mean, he felt like Superman to me in B versus S, even though he was mopey, even though he had 43 lines, and even though they killed him. In spite of all that, he still was a great Superman. See, it's like he's always been great. He's always been better than what the context he's been put in.
He's been given.
Yes,
better than what he's been. Look, and I
he's been aside from that, because that was perfect. No, not perfect, but you know what I mean. But he's always, Bill, you just said it perfectly. He's always been better than when he's been given. What my point is that at this point, let what he's been given as good as he is.
I think, and we got to wrap this up. Yes. I know.
Yes.
But in terms of just to kind of put a button on this Shazam bit, I actually think this raises his stature within the franchise, within that world. Because if you play him off, like he's this legendary hero that children idolize, and Billy Batson thinks of him as this mythic figure that he adores and wants to be like one day, that elevates him. That gives us what was missing in BVS, where we never really got to see him be that beacon of hope that we keep hearing about. If Billy Batson is inspired by him, that helps flesh out that idea that Superman in this world is this unbelievable beacon of light. So I think it actually raises his profile and the way he's portrayed in these films if Billy Batson idolizes and worships the guy, and when they have one little fleeting moment together, it like changes Billy's life.
It would.
I think that's beautiful.
I think to me it'd be sad that he has to have that kind of gimmicky cameo and depiction in another film just to make him the Superman we want him to be, because he hasn't had it before. And you know how you do that in Shazam? You make Shazam its own thing, and Billy Batson is a huge DC Comics fan, and Superman is his favorite character, and he loves Superman, and blah, blah, blah. You got your Superman, you got your tie to DC, and you can do Mr. Mind and Talkie Tawny and all that crazy-ass stuff that they should be doing with Shazam. But anyway, hot takes on this opinion, which, That's why I wanted Mario.
And I zipped it and I threw it away for time purposes, but and to give our friend the last word.
Yes.
Okay. Let's do some plugs.
Good. Well, I'd say the bottom line, we all.
I can keep going. But
no, we won't.
No, I know you can.
We want the best. We want the best for.
And so can I. That's a problem.
All of it. We want the best for these DC characters on film. They haven't gotten the best, and this is where all the passion comes from. We may have different opinions of how it should happen and the way we think it's going to happen, but when it's all said and done, we're all passionate about these characters. And that's where I will leave that in this discussion. I'm sure there will be more coming with this, so let's do plug. Rick, go ahead.
A couple of Star Wars shows that I've done recently. One on Batman on Film, where we talked the solo trailers with Paul Herman and Ryan Haas. And then another one I did, and just my friend here. Tell us about the one that you and I did together. You can plug it better than I can.
What, on El Fanboy?
Yeah.
Yes, so you were on the El Fanboy podcast, and we had a long-form Star Wars discussion with a joint listener, Aaron Varola, where we went on for like an hour and change just talking all these different Star Wars projects that are coming, doing a little bit of a postmortem on Last Jedi. You know, it was a great conversation, so you should check that out. That was episode 48 of the El Fanboy podcast.
That's right. And by the way, this is still my plug, so I'm not taking your plug away. So those are my two most current Star Wars
go ahead.
things. And then this... next Wednesday, and I'll keep this light because it's kind of a heavy topic, but Zaki Hassan is going to join me, and we're going to have a discussion on Left Shoe Politics podcast about gun violence in America. I'll talk about the promotions for that. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on that one, but just that's an important conversation we're going to have next week. So the solo trailer show on BOF, the conversation with Mario and Aaron on El Fanboy, and follow me on Twitter, ShewRick, ShewRack.
All right.
And me, I got three things going on. I have the El Fanboy podcast. I also have the Revengers podcast, which was me and a couple of co-hosts. It's a slightly different type of show. It's pure news and analysis. And I have RevengeOfTheFans.com, where I have daily news stories and analysis and reviews and columns. I have a whole team of people. It's not just me. So those are my three things. El Fanboy, the Revengers podcast, and RevengeOfTheFans.com.
The Revenge of the Fans is cool, man. It's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah.
I like how you
come together.
You're giving a platform to people to have a voice, and it's I can always tell, especially when it's like anything to do with Star Wars, when it's not you and it's one of your contributors. It's always fun that's not going to be Mario, and it never is. So I encourage everybody.
And also even BVS. I had someone publish a whole like love letter to that movie and why it's a misunderstood masterpiece. Because I want everyone to have a voice. You don't have to agree with me. No one ever has to agree with me. I just want you to be heard, and that is the point of the site.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film, and of course all of my shenanigans here at Batman on Film with the vlogs and the stuff I write on the site. And I was going to say announcer Rachel will take us out, but she's not. This is a vlog. But I will do this since I have my two guests here, or I have Rick co-hosting and our special guest Mario. As always, Batman on Film. Rick, get channel the mosquito.
No. Let the New Yorker's going to do this one.
Okay.
He's good at it anyway.
Hey, yeah. Here we go. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive,
Dadgum original.
Yes, sir. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.